to say that I love the friendship between all of you guys in the show. It's one of my favorite things about it. This is a group of people that kind of go to extremes for each other. How important was that for the story of Three Body? It's such a grand story. How important was the friendship itself? How integral was it to the story?
It's really important. I think the one thing that elevates our show and, you know, various other sci-fi fantasy shows, if you like, that when you're dealing with things on a big scale, you have to care about the people at the centre of it. Otherwise, the kind of the threats and the jeopardy just don't mean anything at all. And I think because our show is rooted around these 5 characters who clearly have a great deal of affection for each other and history between them, you can buy into that, and then you just want them to be okay. And I think that that's the hardest thing to do. I think it's such an underrated thing. The hardest thing to do in TV and film is to make people care. And I think that if you don't care, then who cares if the world blows up? Yeah. You have to care about these 5 and the other characters in it before any of that existential threat really matters.
Yeah, I agree. I want to ask about, I know you said yesterday that you didn't really see that there was a lot of connection between Sam Martali and Jack Rooney.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like they both struggle with bravery. What was it like kind of getting to explore that hesitancy in a different way? Because the 2 characters, their sense of self is so different.
Yeah. Well, I think that if Sam had more of Jack Rooney's confidence and self-belief and you know, faith in his forthright opinions, then Game of Thrones may not have even got past season 2. He just sorted it all out. But I think it was nice to play a character that wasn't bound by such kind of self-esteem issues and self-doubt. Played so many characters over the years that are kind of held back by their sense of self. But Jack just thinks he's awesome.
Oh yeah, he is.
He is.
He is.
He is awesome.
That felt like a holiday from all of that.
Yeah.
That kind of self-esteem stuff. It was a treat to play. Yeah.
Nice. Alex, you play Will so beautifully and so tenderly, and in such a fantastical story. How did you bring such authenticity to his character and especially his sacrifice?
Thank you.
It's one of my favourite things about it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it did feel. I sort of felt like I was making almost like a independent movie about a guy who like loves a woman immeasurably, who's like dealing with the threat of his own mortality, and it just felt very, very different to the rest of the show. So that kind of helped because the scope of the show could have been quite distracting for playing the just very simple, human, very quiet scenes that Will's scenes are. So I kind of just lent into that. I sort of like pretended I wasn't in a massive sci-fi show. I was like, la 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 la. Yeah. You know, a lot of it was my scene partners playing with these guys was incredible. But it was a really profound experience to play Will. It was like very simple. Sometimes the simplest things are the most terrifying, I find, as an actor. Because you're just kind of sitting there. It's just you. And,
it's really exposing.
Yeah. But I was just really moved when I first read the script by the sort of quiet heroicness of him, and also the kind of the psychological, almost spiritual journey that he goes on. It was quite daunting, but I was just very moved by it and very excited to get to work on it, really.
Well, you brought that moving quality to life, so.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm going to start with you, Liam.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, let's get in there. What was it like to be reunited with the Game of Thrones for creators for Three Body Problem, and how did the 2 experiences differ or compare for you?
Good question. When the old GOT finished, and if you consider it, I mean, look, I'm 172 years old, and a third of my career was with David and Dan, 10 years or whatever, with David and Dan. And I brokenheartedly said goodbye to ever working with them, and the most unique experience that I've ever had in my career, I suppose. And then several years later, you get a phone call and you go, "What? You want to see me again?" And listen, when you've got beautiful scenes and gorgeous words, and they're so respectful of story and what we do as actors, and respect for talented, creative people, it's not difficult to say yes. Yeah. And going back on set with those 2 and the respect they have, and and the gentleness that they have for the people in front of the camera. And then as a huge added bonus, to have that thrown in to the mix. I fell on my feet. An absolute delight. Every day working with this man was an absolute joy.
Thank you, mate. Same here with you.
We worked really hard and we laughed every day.
No, I mean, like, we're grafters at heart. And, we have a laugh. But we take our work seriously and not ourselves. And it just kind of gives us the space to play and throw curveballs at each other. So it's fun.
I was going to say, it's kind of infuses your characters, so you carry on having that laugh.
Yeah.
Obviously, Benedict, you're not a stranger to working for big franchises and world-building franchises. How does it compare working for Three Body Problem and the MCU?
Yeah, I mean, they're two massive juggernauts, and what I've really enjoyed on this is the continuity of family, really, within the sort of GOT world. I mean, there's many people on the crew and production that you've worked with.
Yeah, true.
Bernie Caulfield's amazing, isn't she? And,
Deborah,
all that
production
team.
design.
Yeah, Deborah. And I've enjoyed watching there's a lovely shorthand, isn't there?
Yeah.
Going on. Yeah. So it's nice to be part of the team.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but your characters were created for the show. They weren't lifted from the books, mate?
Both of ours are in the book.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go about creating the dynamic between you two? Was it something that you were inspired by the book, or did you get to play a little bit with it and add your own spin to your working friendship relationship?
We kind of hit the ground running, didn't we?
just
How you doing?
happened,
Nice to meet
didn't
you. Bang.
Bang.
There was no chat.
No.
Listen, we've been in the game a long time. There's nothing we don't know. We are the Oracle.
I love it.
No,
Whatever it
you
is.
know what I mean. We both, when it's on the page, 90% of the work is done for you. You just have to honour what those guys have put in front of you, and you're not trying to fix scenes or make them work, which you can do. Which a lot of the time, how do we fix this or whatever it may be, and you're a lot of wasted time with a lot of expensive people hanging around the set. It's like you walk in. We did our work quietly after we'd filmed for a day. We'd have eat our bit of grub and then be on Zoom or FaceTime, whatever it may be, running stuff up to bedtime, and then show up early the following morning and just hit the ground running. That's how we work. We don't use the time on set in front of a very expensive production trying to work things out. We like to utilise every minute to improve in the work that we did the previous night or the previous rehearsals or the chats that happen in the inexpensive times of filming. And then we've more time to play.
There were some hairy COVID schedule moments.
Oh yeah.
Just like reams of dialogue that kind of...
Yeah, was thrown in our face and stuff when somebody, an actor got COVID or something, or somebody got COVID.
It's kind of just exactly what Wade and Darsha do, don't they?
Yeah.
We just like execute. We strategize. We get our results. That's it. So I think whatever it is,
it's very
action
practical
between each other is a constant within our characters.
And we slip the art in
Constant.
somewhere around there when we can.
So there's a moment when Augie's technology, her babies, her nanofibers, kind of cut through all these people. It's such a pivotal moment for her character. Can you describe what it was like to capture her heartbreak in that scene?
Oh, it was terrifying. It was brutal because, as a human being, the empathy kind of kicks in. And it was kind of hard for me for a long time to not judge her. Like, it was really complicated. I had a real crisis within Augie because there was things that I, ultimately agreed and others that, morality, in a moral way, I couldn't agree with her sort of giving in. And sometimes that's the most challenging part as an actor, sort of where you come at a face-to-face to things that you would naturally not feel inclined to do. And so it was challenging because I don't naturally feel like I would have ever, allowed her to do that, but yet she chooses. So understanding that psychology and then putting myself of okay, someone that has chosen to do that, knowing what the consequences are going to be, how does that person would react? So it was such a foreign, away from me feeling that it was scary. It was it was daunting filming that scene. I dreaded and excited, and then I was dreading shooting, and then I was excited because I didn't know where to go. And it was nice to be with Dave, Dan, and Alex because I just sort of like, I'm also the type of actress that I like to do it all and then let the director sort of choose where they want to go. I like that. That's my personal, like, sort of, and then you can guide me where you want to go. But there specifically, I felt very protective with the moment. And so I was like, do I go big? Do I go small? It's like, is it nothing? Is it something? So that was very daunting. And I liked the moments that they chose. That was sort of the one thing that I was very worried. That and the scene when she finally breaks with Saul, those were like two of the most daunting scenes that I was really worried about. And hopefully people can empathize with her because
so beautiful.
Yeah, it's tough.
I love the way you played
Yeah.
the moment after the
When she sees it.
try not to spoil it.
Yeah.
I mean, spoiler away, we're going to save this till
Okay.
after.
Okay.
Yeah.
The moment the slicing happens.
Yeah.
The way you played that was, I just thought, really beautiful.
Yeah, it was scary. It was a challenging moment for me as an actor, and I learned a lot in the process. And I hope that people feel it's hard to empathize with her for a lot of reasons. I think, morally speaking, for people, are going to become quite complicated because that's a very delicate subject for humans, of course. So I hope that people can see through the complexity of what's going on, but you know, she's gonna go different places, hopefully. So
How did you find the sympathy for your character when it was so difficult for you to relate to it?
I just sort of released and sort of completely released Aza's train of thought, and I just really put my heart and soul in like what David and Dan context was. That's when you have to trust your showrunners. You have to trust the people that have like a path for you.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, believe this is the beginning. Like this is, you know, and what I love and why I personally think that we all chose to work with them is if you're familiar with the history of the way they write, they're incredible writers because they're not like one specific style. They're so complex. Like it's the anti-hero, but the quiet hero, but there's so many nuances to the way that they write. And so there's never like a specific style of character. And you saw it with 10 seasons of Game of Thrones, right? Like the characters you thought were good were so bad, but then good again, but then bad, but you love them, but you hate them, but you know,
It's color and shade.
And then that happens a lot. Like in this season, the people that you don't think are like great or like spectacular maybe in the future. Like that's what I like about working with showrunners because I know the character's going to go different places.
Yeah, I think what they're especially good at is letting you think that you know
What
character,
and then
giving them a moment where you're a bit like, oh, they reacted to that in a way I never would have expected them to, and you think, oh, I suddenly know more about them.
Yeah.
And then as you go on, you're sort of getting clues to people. They don't spoon feed you the character initially. But as time goes on, you get these little clues, and by the end of it, the character's built from a kind of...
They humanize them in a way that it's human.
Yeah.
Not like in the way that we want to believe that humanizing is.
Yeah.
Meaning humanizing is with
It's
bad and
messy
good, and
it's
it's messy, and it's complicated, and it's abstract, and it's not like linear. Like there's so many things about the way that they write that is majestic, and it's a treat as an actor, and it's challenging as an actor, and it's fun to be able to throw yourself into that.
I just quickly want to ask about Jack and Will's relationship because you guys have such a beautiful friendship. And what was it like showing male intimacy and friendships on screens? Because do you feel like we get enough of that anymore? Do we see enough of that, or is it still too few?
I think it's a really interesting examination into that actually, because what you get a lot is, especially early on in the first episode, it's quite a surface thing, the way men communicate on a very surface level, where it's teasing and it's, you know, taking the mick out of each other, and you're not really discussing things deep. And then there's a moment in the second episode where you see what that bedrock is, what the bedrock of that relationship is, and it's based on a very real love between them. And I think that's present in a lot of male friendships, but it takes kind of extreme circumstances for them to tell each other that they love them sometimes.
Yeah.
They know they do, but they just don't say it enough. It's kind of hidden underneath this surface of, you know, banter and all that. But sometimes in extreme circumstances, that's when you really get the chance to tell somebody what you feel about them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think just generally speaking, there is a pretty tragic shortage of the ability for men to communicate emotionally and emotionally honestly and vulnerably with each other. I think that's the negative of toxic masculinity. Is, you know, it goes in all directions. Bad for women, bad for men. It's bad all around. And yeah, no, I love playing vulnerable scenes. Also with Jovan in episode 7.
Yeah.
Amazing actor.
Yeah, he's so good.
Stunning.
Amazing actor, and that's like also such a vulnerable scene. So I loved, and I love these two men so much in real life. So it's like,
Same, yeah.
it's really nice to be able to kind of communicate that through the characters as well.
Liam, Wade, when he's contacted by the Santee at the end,
Yes.
it's one of the very few times that we actually see him sweat.
Yes.
What was it like kind of building that tension and that fear in that moment into a character who's usually so unshakable?
Well, the nature of the visit, you know, when you're 36,000 feet in the air and you have an unexpected guest, I don't care who you are. That's going to be, as I had to use that well-worn phrase, a sphincter tightening moment.
I would call it.
Yeah, you can do what you like with that metaphor. I mean, he is there. It's very bizarre, the conversation. Not even a conversation that they have. What she says to him, because it's. I remember reading and going, "Whoa, this could go anywhere." After what she says, it's a fantastic moment. Because Safan's not there. This is all about. We're not doing spoilers here now, are we?
We can do spoilers.
No.
It's all going to
Well,
be
we
after.
already have.
I mean, so many, but
Yeah,
it's
we
okay.
got to be careful with this. But she, whatever Safan has planned for him, the mystery is just fantastic. Because I mean, where's it going to go to hold something like that out in front of him? Basically saying, "We like what you're doing." He's trying to destroy them. What the hell? What?
Which way are you looking from?
Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
And it's a little precursor to where the hell is this show going to go. And I love that. I've always liked that.
They
Difficult to
always
predict.
catch you unawares, don't they?
Yeah, they're good
All
at
of
that.
them do. Yeah.
The curveball.
Tatiana.
Yeah, Tatiana's character is great. I remember reading her. Man, Marla did a fantastic job.
Yeah, amazing.
She's great in the show.
Benedict, I want to ask you about your character and where his thinly veiled emotional trauma comes from, because there's something going on behind the surface that we can see kind of popping through.
Yeah, well, he's a counter-terrorist operative, and they happen upon an agent or in the services, as they say, and started from there. And their life is about sacrifice. You know, they are the job. You become the job. That's all he does, much to the detriment of his family life. And even there you go in. He's a single dad, and his laptop brings his work with him. Something convenient to eat. This is the life that you lead. It's very. It's not glamorous James Bond life,
Which his son reminds him of.
Yeah. But it's really hard to kind of. He's just kind of got the weight of the world on him. I mean, just it's kind of insignificant. It's the micro as opposed to the macro of what we're dealing.
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
Yeah. I think so.
And Liam,
Yes.
you mentioned that you turned down another show for 3
I'm not telling you what it is.
Oh, man.
No, that's just no gotcha questions here. No.
Fine. Okay. Benedict, can you describe the relationship between you and your son and what it was like to build that kind of fraught nature of there?
Do you know what? We only had a couple of scenes with the wonderful
Aiden.
Aiden.
Such a lovely kid.
Fantastic actor. It's interesting with in terms of Asian dads, and their sons, and kind of wanting to kind of please them, and yet he's kind of not. He's not around, and this is the life he chose, really. And as I said to you before, it starts with sacrifice when you join this team for this secret government, which they call. It's a top tier 3, this category, this level. And the fact that they have something like that, it's, the reality of that is it's all consuming. And so I think there is hardly any relationship there. Yeah.